listening to America First Radio.
And we're gonna win, win, win. And we're gonna make America great again.
Here is your host, Paul Adams.
The debate. Watch what happens to Hillary. It's more of a death watch, ladies and gentlemen. Her campaign is all but dead. This is the main theme of this episode. So welcome to First America Radio, where we try to reinstall America as the beacon of freedom, all in a no-holds-barred civil conversation. The debate. You know, I picture a pack of hungry hyenas circling Hillary's camp. What do you see? I see the mainstream media, her mentor Soros, the DNC, all kind of circling and sizing up Hillary like a pack of starved hyenas who have absolutely no compunction at all about eating one of their own who is fatally wounded. Hillary, on the other hand, who is blowing the dog whistle for a race war, stoking up the fires, with her tweet about another black man shot by a police officer. She has a 50-50 chance of showing up for the debate in my books, and a 10-90 chance of making it through the whole 90 minutes. And zero chances of coming out on top. Now, I will not be distracted by the latest violence on the streets or what's happening in Syria. My sights are locked in on Hillary, laser focused. All my memes have been about one thing only, Hillary. I just made a meme the other day of a hospital entrance with snipers on rooftops and a Black Hawk chopper, over the hospital with a sign in the entrance saying 2016 presidential debates and a red arrow showing the way. So it gives you an idea. I want to start off by being nice to Hillary. Hillary, I do feel your pain, and I am so sorry that you have mishandled your free agency so much, to such a degree, that you are now subject to what we all know as karma. Or for those of us who believe in God, in God's justice. So that's it. There I am, I was nice to her. I got to back off now. See, Hillary, I'm not that deplorable. Now, with that out of the way, let me step into the ring and let me put on my fighting gear. See, I saw this video on Twitter the other day that is now making the rounds in record numbers. It was originally tweeted by James Woods, the famous actor. It summarizes the story of a 14-year-old girl that was raped, whose whole life was then ruined as a result. The rapist was set free after a brief trial, even with all the evidence pointing to his conviction. And the young lawyer who got him off was Hillary Clinton. But that's not where the story ends. I would have been upset just about that, but years later, Hillary was interviewed about this whole incident. And during the interview, she gloated and laughed at how she got this rapist off. See, what kind of a subhuman species does that? I would suggest it's the Hillary Clinton genus. Thank you, Mr. Woods, for that tweet. And I retweeted it. And my caption was, all right, that does it. The gloves are off. So the gloves are coming off as I step into the ring. They are now off. And the brass knuckles are on. For starters, I made a meme the other day with a caption, "Some people kill for profit, some for fame, and some to become President of the United States." And below that caption is a mock-up magazine cover of Life magazine, only the F is missing, so it's actually Lie magazine. And on that cover there's a picture of Charles Manson, his face, and superimposed on that is a transparent picture of Hillary's face. And alongside this juxtaposition of evil is the caption, "Psycho is as psycho does." And if you want to see all my memes, you can go to @zip90210.club. So Hillary, this is mano a mano, spiritual warfare. Do you understand what you have gotten yourself into, Hillary? Do you have any clue, Hillary Rodham Clinton, how millions of people who are praying to God for justice, for him to mete out justice on your head, how those prayers will affect your future? Do you have any notion of what that means? Do you remotely comprehend what this can result into? Not only for you, but also for your whoremonger husband, partner in crime, for that treacherous slime who is the President of the United States, and for your demonic mentor, George Soros. I don't even know what it all means. All I know is it's going to be extremely bad news for you. You see, prayers of the righteous always trump a witch's hex. So, there you were, at the behest of Mr. George Soros, no doubt, the master of mind traps. You give a speech about Mr. Trump inciting ISIS violence. See, for me, ruining the life of that innocent 14-year-old girl is one thing. But you trying to ruin Donald Trump, a decent man, America's only hope, someone I would take a bullet for, someone who is putting his life on the line, who is putting aside his fabulous lifestyle to give America back to the people. See, when you try to ruin him, it suddenly gets very, very personal. Because America is more important to me than my life or my family's life or any wealth or any position. Nothing can stand between me and America. The beacon of freedom that you and the rest of the Luciferian globalists are trying to extinguish, to bring in a Luciferian reign, a world without borders. The truth, Hillary, is that you and Obama created ISIS. You funded them, you armed them, you emboldened them. You and Obama created this demonic force, ISIS, period. You left Iraq in shambles. You created not only a hate for America, but you also armed ISIS by abandoning those 2,000 military vehicles in the middle of the desert with keys in the ignition. You dropped supplies to ISIS. You let ISIS get away with murder for 2 years. You sent arms to ISIS from Libya. You couldn't do to ISIS in 18 months what Russia did when it stepped in 3 weeks. So, Soros, what do you expect the American people to do? Because we now know that your life's ambition is to ruin America. Do you want us to just roll over? Because it ain't happening. You have miscalculated the spirit of freedom. All your models are flawed. You cannot win. There is no plan XYZ for this. Hillary's playbook is to character assassinate Mr. Trump. It is so old. In this new era of social media and cell phones, the people are waking up. The silent majority wants power to reside with the people. We are seeing what's going on behind the curtains. Don't you get it? We know that the elite are trying to play God. And no matter how hard they try, they've only created mayhem and death around the planet. So your time is up. Blaming ISIS on Trump is so old. You've already tried that blame game with the Black Lives Matter violence. And now the whole world knows that you, along with Soros and your puppets, Obama, are behind the violence. You are funding thugs to cross state lines and riot. George Soros, what kind of garble are you feeding your Parkinson's patient? Show some originality, for Pete's sake. George, you and your sons, you have the magnetism and the imagination of a decaying mollusk in low tide. You have obviously coached Hillary to deliver that antiquated, over-rehearsed, monotone, metered monologue about Trump inciting ISIS violence. She used the same tone and the same gravitas that she used at her infamous coffin-side Benghazi speech, where she tried to pin the Benghazi attacks on that video. It's very bad acting. It's the acting of a witch. For Hillary to give a repeat performance is to signal to the whole world that the sewer spewing out of her mouth, her mendacious mouth, deserves only one thing: to be flushed out. Most Americans know by now that when her mouth moves at any time, whatever spews out is a complete fabrication and a total distortion of the facts. And especially when her eyes kind of get bulgy, wide, which you simply can't control because, that's a secondary sign that she's lying through her teeth. And I really think the demonic is beginning to really surface in Hillary. Her sense of entitlement and now the demons taking over. Her temper will only get more vile and furious, more vitriolic, more volcanic with time. Folks, let me ask you something. How is it that this aberration, this experiment gone wrong, this infected glob of putrefying pus, and if Christ was here, he would have called her much worse, considering he called the Pharisees graves full of dead men's bones. How is it that this whore of Babylon, this fallen angel, this secretary of sorcery, who has skated from charges of espionage, racketeering, rape enabling, perjury, obstruction of justice, treason, how is it that this Luciferian scourge, how is it that this abomination, this wholesale bought and paid for traitor to America, how is it that she's even allowed to address the American people? Why is a persona non grata like this Alinsky demon, who always accuses others of the very thing that she's guilty of, still free? If deplorable little me can feel this way for such a loathsome, despicable, contaminated, and possessed carcass, just imagine how God must feel about her. Let me give you an idea. Take how Christ felt about the Pharisees and magnify it to the power of 10. I have a strong feeling. This is just my feeling. Maybe others have it too. I don't know. I don't care. I have a strong feeling, just like I had a strong feeling that Trump would win the nomination by acclamation almost. It would be uncontested. I have a very strong feeling that God will make a public example of Hillary Clinton. I can almost guarantee it. Watch what happens to Hillary. God will show the entire world on a televised broadcast what happens to witches like Hillary, who defy God, who mock the American people, who want God eliminated from the Pledge of Allegiance, who are nothing but globalist Trojan horses posing as America's savior, who in one breath can say that Islam is a religion of peace and in another breath will demand that religions have to change their core beliefs. Just think about that. She wants religions to change their core beliefs, but will allow unvetted radical Muslims into the United States. See, that's what a witch does. And God will unplug this witch very soon. Just watch what happens to Hillary. Watch what happens to witches like her who have duped a decent population, which they have already dumbed down, by the way, which they have already kept in economic bondage. Watch what happens to witches who have sold influence to donors in China, Saudi Arabia, who have actually hanged out with other witches, who will lie, steal, and kill with impunity because they have corrupted the whole system. It has turned into a Mexican standoff. Everybody's got the goods and everybody else. Watch what happens to witches like Hillary who have raped women a second time by silencing them after her husband has raped them. Watch what happens to Hillary. It will not be funny. It will be very sad. It will be horrendous. I do not wish it on her. But God is going to show to the whole world what happens to an Alinsky acolyte like her, so that no one else will try to pull a similar stunt in the future. I'm not going to tell you what exactly God will do, but it will be epic. It will. Mark my words. It will fulfill the demands of justice, of karma. You don't even have to be religious to understand that there are consequences to our actions. So justice will be meted out. Mark my words. Watch the debates. Bring tons of popcorn. Just watch. It will be bigger than the Super Bowl, bigger than the Olympics, bigger than a royal wedding, bigger than the first moon landing. It will be absolutely the zenith of events. You know what this showdown reminds me of? I was thinking about it, and it reminds me of the showdown between the priests of Baal and Elijah the prophet, who was known as the biggest troublemaker in Israel because he was just telling the truth. He was shooting from the hip. And the priests of Baal hated him. The Luciferians hated the truth, just like they hated Christ. That's why they now hate Trump, because he's telling the truth. And they will do anything to discredit Trump, just like they did anything to discredit Christ, and they're still discrediting him, claiming he was possessed and that he was the son of a harlot. But coming back to Elijah's showdown, Elijah challenged the priests of Baal to a contest. So they set up 2 altars and placed the animal sacrifice on the altar on top of the wood. And the priests of Baal went first. So they chanted and they danced from morning until noon, and yet nothing happened. Then they start slashing themselves with knives, and they danced even more to a heightened, frenzied state. Sounds a bit like the mainstream media. because nothing they're doing is working. Glenn Beck is going catatonic now. That the snake with a new skin, Mr. Ted Cruz, has endorsed Trump. So we're seeing the mainstream media going into a meltdown. So, going back to Elijah and the priest of Baal. So their animal sacrifices lay there. Nothing happened. Insects, were starting to flying around. They sat down. They were tired, sweaty, bleeding from their cuts. And Elijah started mocking them. He starts saying, "Is your God Baal asleep? Is he having a nap? Is he on a vacation?" Then he ordered that a ditch be dug around his altar, and that they drench the animal sacrifice and the wood and the altar with water. He ordered that they drench the wood and the animal again, a second time, and then a third time. So the ditch was filled with water. There was water everywhere. And Elijah prayed to God to manifest his power and to burn the sacrifice. And a fire came down from the sky which consumed not only the wood and the sacrifice, but also the water in the ditch around the altar. And that was the end of the contest. But you know what else is very spooky about this showdown? This showdown actually happened during the days of Jezebel, who was killing the prophets of God. Which brings us to our modern day Jezebel, that fallen angel, the whore of Babylon, Hillary Clinton. Hillary, you want to mess with America? Go ahead, get yourself ready. Make sure you bring along some triple ply Armani diapers and your medic handler, because the debates will be the equivalent of Elijah facing off the prophets of Baal. What I find most fascinating is the way that Jezebel's life came to an end, and I'm not going to get into it right here. I'm going to save that until the end of the episode. But think about it, folks. Think about it. The debate aside, policies aside, why is this witch still campaigning? Why does she think she's still bankable? Think about it. With all the dirt our enemies have on her now from the hacked emails, with all this slime that they can blackmail her with, countries like China, ISIS, Iran, how is she not damaged goods? How does George Soros figure she will not be blackmailed? She's a persona non grata, an asterisk in U.S. history. Why do we even give her the time of day? Why are we legitimizing her? Why are we dignifying her? Now, as for you atheists, you nihilists, you witches, warlocks who are backing her, who are filled with hate for Christians and for Jews, who hate anything that has to do with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who hate decency, all you illuminated ones who want a one world without borders to bring about a Luciferian age, and all you more entrenched Luciferians who grovel in hedonism, paganism, occult rituals, who feast on the occult, who celebrate the depraved and mock the wholesome. Yes, I'm talking to you, sons and daughters of Lucifer, the synagogue of Satan, who listen to his promptings and his music, who defile yourselves and your children with drugs and pornography, who instill in your children a love for the perverse, who use the word diversity as a synonym for perversity, who stomp on traditions. And the funny thing is, you don't realize that you will be branded old school and traditional by the next generation coming after you. As your sons and daughters graduate to an even more obscene and perverted lifestyle, like pedophilia, bestiality, killing and eating your parents, because once you're on that Luciferian slide, anything goes. I'm talking to you. And here's my message. I know for some of you this is bordering on the absurd, but it's no more nor less absurd than speaking of a Luciferian age as a new reality. I'm going over the heads of a lot of people here. I'm going past 200,000 feet. My message is to you, prepare, prepare, prepare. For soon comes the Son of God for the second time. This time not in a manger, not riding a donkey, but in a cloud with great power and glory, bright enough to blind you, filled with fierce fury. He is coming to cleanse the earth with fire as with a flood, and you will have a front seat when he comes. So prepare, because where will you run and hide then? Okay, enough of that. Let's go back 10,000 feet. What does all this have to do with the election? Mr. Trump may be the harbinger to prepare America for that event. We need to clean up America and keep it free from the utter mayhem that is about to overtake the world before Christ's second coming. I'll be happy if Mr. Trump is simply elected president in November, period. I'll be happy if he gets elected. Then I can have my final fatal heart attack. Mission accomplished. I don't really ask for or want anything else. I've done it all. Had it all, folks. You will be in good hands with Mr. Trump at the helm. But Lucifer's minions, your heart is not right. You have but a short time. There's still time for you to turn around, to do a 180 and leave darkness behind you. You can do it. That goes for you too, Hillary. That goes for you too. And for George Soros. It can be done. If somebody like Saul can be turned around, you can be turned around. You can do it. Saul, he used to slaughter Christians. He was the arch enemy of Christianity. So I would suggest that you pray as you never prayed before, so you can have peace and light again in your life. While there's still time, do the right thing, because Lucifer will never, never deliver on his promises, guaranteed. Change your ways, America, while you still have a chance. God does not take pleasure in your destruction. God does not take pleasure in filth. But he will not let the majority of his children who simply want to live in peace be run over by filth, by Luciferians, the likes of Hillary Rodham Clinton. The hacking hag who has been hacked by God. The Jezebel who is saying nothing about the Christians around the world who are being hacked to pieces. The whore of Babylon from the infernal bowels of hell who thinks laws don't apply to her and laughs as she gloats at Gaddafi's death about those she has destroyed and betrayed, whose eyes roll uncontrollably like a witch's, that doomed, possessed vessel of wrath who falsely accuses a decent, innocent man like Trump of sparking terrorism and violence, all just because he is pointing out the enemy, as if singling out Hitler for invading Europe caused Hitler to kill 6 million Jews. Hillary, your witchcraft is inoperable. You use the same mesmerizing hex when you try to wiggle your way out of the email scandal by publicly claiming on 22 separate occasions that you did not send or receive classified emails. Nothing to see here. These are not the droids you're looking for. That was your hustle, your spell. Not only did you lie, as the whole world now knows, but even if that was the case, even if it was true that you never sent or received classified emails using your private server, the burning question, the $64 million and 90 cents question, which the hexed Congress and bot reporters should have then asked you, but failed because they didn't have the balls to ask you. The question is, what the hell were you then doing as Secretary of State? That was your job description. You were not only given the task of sending and receiving classified emails, You were appointed and designated and assigned the role of original classification authority as Secretary of State. And you want us to believe that you don't know what the letter C stands for. You cankerous criminal plague. Now suddenly you have more to answer to. See, I don't want to bore you here with trivia, but on Twitter something surfaced, a spreadsheet from somebody who was interviewed in a TV talk show, and the spreadsheet breaks down the names and the places and the amounts paid for ambassadorships. You were doing a brisk trade selling ambassadorships, Hillary. They were being sold anything between 1.9 million to 2.2 million each. Maybe this is why, you're not 50 points ahead, Hillary. If I was in your shoes, Hillary, given what happened on 9/11 when you collapsed, given all the skeletons in your closet, and we're not even getting to the October surprise, the big reveal by WikiLeaks. Given all that's going on, and I know it's going to be hard for you because you fought so hard to get to where you are. You sacrificed so much. So many people have died for you to get to where you are. You have betrayed so many and lied so much. But if I was you, I would not show up for the debate. You know why? Because I'm telling you, maybe it's not the first debate, but it might be the second or the third. When you step into that stage, that arena, you will be entering into a cage match with God himself. Not Trump, but with God. And he has your number. You're given a chance to come clean. And since you won't latch on to it, yours is the same fate that befalls on all those who love darkness. You will end up in a black hole, a void of light, void of love, an abyss where no voice responds to your cries and you can't respond to any signal. Because if you really think you're going to skate through the debates, newsflash, you're going to wish you were in a vegetative state after the debates are over. The debates will wipe you, and then you will take it out on your staff. You will convulse in rage after the debates, and then you will shut down. Your system can't take this drama anymore. You're just a flicker away from a permanent short circuit, Hillary. See, Hillary gives women a bad name, but Soros, well, he gives humanity a bad name. George Soros, that Romulan lab experiment gone dreadfully wrong. You have been weighed, you have been measured, and you have been found absolutely and totally wanting. America knows what you're up to. We know, George, that the culmination of your life's work, as per your own admission, is to destroy America. My advice to you is pack your suitcases and teleport to Mars while you still can. And your best bet might be still to surrender to Putin. Because your mind is trapped, George, in that dark delusion created by your father, the father of lies, Lucifer. You have been exposed as a manipulator of elections. Your days playing God are done. Begone, begone, Lord of the Flies. Begone, good riddance. Same goes to you, George H. Bush, who is now backing Hillary. What more evidence do we need, folks, that the two-party system is a huge illusion? It's a hoax, false matrix to keep us divided. Papa George, who wanted a new world order and has poisoned this nation with moles like Mitt Romney and Ted Cruz and the two sons of his with the missing screws. Pack and leave. China would be a good place for you. Weather is nice there. Your last-minute endorsement of Hillary reminds me of the last-minute Carly Fiorina endorsement of Cruz. And I made a meme of Cruz and Fiorina riding a convertible in a front seat, holding hands as they drive over the cliff. I want to finish on a civilized note and a scriptural note, because we are, after all, civilized, and a little sarcasm here, but we only want civilized ambassadors to spread our brand of civilization to the rest of the universe, don't we? And what kind of an example would we be if we didn't act in a civilized manner? So for all of you civilized citizens of planet Earth, let me finish off with this civilized meme, which I dedicated to Chris Stevens, Tyron Woods, Sean Smith, and Glenn Doherty, who died in Benghazi, which I posted a few months ago. And of all my tweets, it has the longest legs. On the left is a picture of Hillary smiling a gleeful, smug smile. And on the right side of the meme, the text says, "A vote for this biodegradable organism means that you are an accomplice after the fact to its Benghazi murders, breach of our national security, and the funding of terrorists, and are a co-enabler in the rape of women." Now, I promised a spiritual ending here, so let's see how Jezebel in the days of Elijah ended up. Her own servants tossed her out of a balcony. Her body splattered on the ground below. Then horses trampled on it. When it came time to bury her body, it was all too late. Most of it had been eaten up by dogs. The metaphor here, figuratively speaking, is that Hillary will end up like Jezebel. The demonic in her will come to the fore, as will her tantrums, which will get more fierce and uncontrollable as she sees her chances evaporate before her. And the very people who once helped her, her servants, her mentors, her acolytes, the mainstream media, her donors, will throw her over the balcony. Let me step out of the ring. Let me take off the brass knuckles. Let me give the floor over to God, because we all know that after all is said and done, we are a nation under God. God bless Mr. Trump. God bless America. Till next time.